morning and welcome to the meeting of Oakham Town Council's Planning Subcommittee. It is 10 AM on Friday the 29th of August. We have no apologies today. Do we have any declarations of interest from the members?
No.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from last week? Can I propose it, please? First Stan. Seconded
John.
by John. And his vote, please. That's all. Now it's time we open up the floor for deputations from the public. I believe Mr Woodley is asked to speak.
Yeah.
You have the floor.
Yes. I'd just like to explain my scheme or proposal. Mowbray Lodge is a well-known property in the area. It has an interesting history, and what we would like to do is kind of carry that history on. So me and my wife have moved here and planning this as our retirement property. It's not a development opportunity or anything like that. So the only fault that we find with the house is that at the back of the house, it's surrounded by two commercial properties and a sort of wall of trees currently. And there are very small windows, and the light is quite oppressive in the house, so it's quite a dark house, even though it's made to the best standards with the best materials that you can imagine, to be honest. And the other feature is that it's been a house that's had a number of developments over the years, I think is the way to describe it. And it's very inconsistent, so when you look at the back of the house, it's higgledy-piggledy is the way my wife describes it, with different brick styles and different shapes, and it's not very uniform. So the whole idea of the proposal is to take inspiration from the buildings around us, such as the library, and use materials that are in keeping with the area, and try and open up the house at the lower region to let light in. We have a neighbour, which is a hotel, where currently there's a number of windows, or two windows in the hotel. One line's almost identical with one of our windows into our bedroom, which is an interesting point. And the other is a bar on the lower elevation. So we don't see that if we keep the existing footprint of the building, which is why it's slightly offset, if you can see on the right hand side. We haven't tried to extend out to take the whole property. We've left the corridor as is now, so we've embraced the existing shape of the building and just tried to take it forward to allow us to have a light wall, bifold doors at the bottom, and extend the bedroom using zinc cladding similar to the library to make it consistent, and to take away any sort of chance of being cross-pollination of view from either us or from anyone that may be looking out of those windows. So that's all I'd like to say. I hope it puts it in context rather than it being just treated as a raw development opportunity. It's not about that.
Very much for that. Would any of the members of the public like to speak? Okay, so we'll move on to the applications as we have. Has anyone had a chance to look at these online? Has anyone made a site visit?
Sorry?
Has anyone made a site visit this week?
Well,
Of any of the sites that have been made?
yes,
Yes. Okay, thank you very much.
all
Okay.
of them.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to move on to the application for 9 Hilltop Drive.
Yep, so here's the property here. We're quite So it's a strange layout, but this behind him is very built up now. What Mr and Mrs Kettle would like to do, we just put the sort of side plans. This is the property here. Currently there's a patio there. What they would like to do is put a single-storey extension on the back. To move the patio along here, and there's various internal works to the house which aren't part of the application, major internal works. So this is what they would like to do. So here we have the current plan with the patio, and this is what they would then like to do. You can see the extent of the internal works.
That's huge. I wouldn't want to be living there.
Basically what they would like to do is put this single-storey extension on the back, patio doors which will come from the sort of kitchen and breakfast room out onto the patio, and that is it. You can see the elevations from the side, how the sort of terrain, the land slopes upwards. So that's really it. No objections from any of the neighbours, single-storey, no overlooking issues.
Yeah, I had a walk up there and thought that it's not going to be visible from the back. Neighbours
Well,
were quite
at the
happy.
bottom of the garden, you've just got fields.
Yeah, neighbours seem quite happy with this.
Yeah, and I propose
Is there a special?
Yes, I second.
There is acceptance special. Second by Stan. All in favour, please?
Okay, thank you very much.
So the next one is Overlodge.
So obviously this is the property here, the library. The actual, as you can see, the actual size of the extension, the footprint of the extension isn't that great. You've just seen what Mr Woodley would like to do. This is what it looks like at the moment. And proposal obviously is this one for you. That is it. So there we are.
We have received an objection from the Old Hotel. Has everyone read that? Any opening comments?
But I think it's a good idea to read out some of the important part of that deputation, so that everyone will hear it.
The main objections were from the natural light to the hotel and the residential accommodation, and the fact that by putting up this extra wall you would lose all of the natural light. The lack of clarity in application of the material submitted. They were concerned about the zinc cladding and also what the roof structure is going to be proposed at the first floor level. Is it flat, is it pitched? There seemed to be a lot of controversy of what's being used. There was a question over what code G lead decking was. There was a big concern over the loss of daylight and sunlight again through these windows. Overshadowing and loss of outlook. The fact that if you open your window, all you see is the brick wall. The idea of overdevelopment, that it was a small quirky property and that it adjoins listing buildings, therefore we need to take that into consideration. And there's an impact on the listing building and the conservation area. The design was brought into question being in keeping. The concern about the apple tree, what would happen to the apple tree in the garden. The environmental impact of the increased light pollution of having all these extra windows and not having them shadowed. And I believe we also had a letter from the conservation officer as well. Any opening comments?
I think it's too tight and I propose that we reject it.
Can I say first, going on from there, I did site visits to both properties. I met with Mrs Woodley and she showed me at the back. I saw the courtyard and it is extremely tight. I understand the situation, what they want to do and why they want to do it, but I must admit I was very, very concerned by how small the courtyard and how it's going to a double story there. Possibly, I thought it to my mind was going to have an adverse effect on the hotel. So I did a site visit and met with the hotel owner, Mr Cllrs, and the there's 4 windows actually, but the 2 upper windows are from the private living accommodation, and it brings the height. At the moment, looking out of one of the windows, it looks above the single story that's there, and the double story is going to go on top of that, so it's going to come up right in front of that window.
How far is it going to be?
From,
Measurement terms.
well, it's the same distance as the wall of the single story is at the moment.
Which is about a meter.
I have concerns about the zinc cladding, I have to be honest. It is such a historic building, and it's one that is very well known in Oakham. Whilst it's going to be at the back, you're not going to see too much. Obviously, when you walk into the exterior, you are going to see it. And that for me seemed a little bit out of keeping with what we were trying to do within the conservation area, of keeping it as Oakham as possible. I understand taking inspiration from places like the library. I do understand that. But obviously the library isn't a historic building. Not yet anyway.
I have to say, having done site visits to both and seriously considered the situation, I personally feel that I would have to go against the application on the grounds that it is too tight, and it has a tremendous impact on the private area in the hotel.
Yes, it's not just about commercial concern, we have to consider the impact as well. You got anything you'd like to say, Jim?
No.
Okay. So, do we have a proposal?
Well,
Yes,
John's
I
proposed.
propose rejection.
I second that.
Can I vote on that, please?
Objection on the grounds that
I was going to say,
it's too
what
tight
grounds?
and the impact on the private area of the hotel
And materials use.
And the materials.
and materials used. Okay.
So can I have a vote on that, please? Check that it's unanimous.
Sorry?
Can I vote on that, please? Voting rejection.
Yes, against?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just checking we've done it properly.
Yeah.
I would like to add to that, if I may, in that when we send that back, to say that site visits to both properties have been done,
Yes, I would like to.
and that we feel that before the LCC take a view, they also do site visits to both properties.
Moving on.
We're looking at show no takeaway.
This one is a little bit odd, really. Implement a change of use for the first floor of the building from commercial to residential Shanghai takeaway on 38 Melton Road. No objections from the conservation officer. There are actually no plans for this, only the application for it.
Yes, that's right.
And I'm not really sure how members feel about that. Normally when we have a change of use, we have an idea of what they would like to do.
I was going to propose that we send this back with not enough detail.
Well, there's no detail.
Well, there isn't.
We're unable to.
But in fact, I've been there, and what they're proposing to do is quite logical.
But we
It's not the change of use I have an issue with, it's what they're going to do with the upstairs.
It's just going to be residential.
Okay. Have you seen the area there?
I've had a look at the area
Oh,
from
you
the
have a look?
outside, I haven't been inside.
On the inside. And if the conservation officer's guiding us and saying it's not listed.
Yeah,
What did you say?
No,
So it wasn't listed.
It's quite,
no
it's not,
objection.
it's outside the area.
Outside of our area.
I mean, I've looked at it from the outside, and it's not going to make a major difference at all.
It's going to make any difference at all.
So I didn't think it would.
And in fact, it's going to provide useful accommodation.
Okay, so can I have a proposal, please?
I propose acceptance.
Propose acceptance, seconded by Sam. All in favour, please? Okay, so on to our tree section today.
It's perhaps an idea to mention, so sorry, Richard, perhaps an idea to mention to the public about Joyce's use in this situation.
Okay, so we have a tree warden that does an inspection on the trees and then reports back to the council as what she would recommend. She is our resident tree expert. So generally we will follow what she says. She has far more knowledge than we do.
Well, basically, this is what's left of the two horse chestnut.
I did feel sorry for them.
Having just said that about the tree warden, unfortunately she hasn't been able to get out to this tree. However, she does. I have spoken to her this morning. She has looked at the application and she has no issues about work taking place to these trees.
They need to before they damage them.
Obviously, they're quite large, or were quite large, and they obviously need this work to ensure the safety of the property.
There's a report on there from the tree surgeon they've had in the meeting that says this is very, very necessary before the tree does come down altogether.
Yes,
It's
it
too
is.
overground.
That's right.
Okay, so can I have a proposal?
Propose.
Second.
Proposed by Sam, seconded by John.
I'm going in first.
And we're going. And that's unanimous vote.
Okay, the second one is Peterborough Avenue. Again, I've spoken to the tree warden this morning. She said she never has any issues with work applications from Mr Clerk from RTC Highways. Obviously, this is very necessary. The tree we're talking about is this one here. This is the location of tree number 8. It's probably easier
It's almost hanging over
to
the
actually
house,
see
isn't it?
from the photos. Scroll down. There's one which actually shows the line of
it's
proposed
very,
works.
Yeah,
There we are. So you can see.
it's overhanging on somebody's
So
property.
what they're proposing to do is to take off all of that to actually preserve the symmetry of the crown of the tree.
Yeah.
I propose acceptance of that.
I second.
Seconded by John. Unanimous vote.
Walnut trees. Now the tree warden has been out to this one. She went out yesterday, and it's quite a lengthy application, as you can see there. But it's basically thinning the crown, trimming these trees up. They're obviously overhanging both properties. We haven't got any photos, but we do have a sketch map of where they are. There we are. You can see reduced dead wood, thin the crown out. So we're looking at these two trees here as you lead into Farmstead Drive there. So, and Joyce has visited the site and recommends that the work be approved.
I propose that.
Proposed by Stan, seconded by John. All in favour? Unanimous.
Unanimous.
Next one is the Everard's Grove Wheat Sheaf.
The second one is an ADV, which is basically the signage. We all know where the wheat sheaf is, or for those that don't,
It's just in the corner.
it's here. So this is what we're talking about here, PH, Public House. So this is
Gosh, that's a terrible photo.
perhaps not the most, perhaps show the club in its best
We know,
light.
John, that we could both take a better photograph.
Obviously taken sort of in the winter with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ice and stuff.
It looks much nicer right now.
Anyway, so whether
That's what it is.
so that's what we've got anyway, and this is what they propose.
But see, I really like what they're doing with the font, and I love the red sign for the wheat sheaf. I think it's really nice, but it just seems to be too much. I would not expect to see that in Oakham.
But that red sign is already there.
Yeah. I think they're just sort of...
I think that on the side,
No, I agree
I
with
really
that.
do.
There's also an objection from the Conservation Officer who objects to the proposed signs on the gable end, which is this one here, which has been written onto the bare wall, and the front relating to the garden. I presume he means that there, but and to the external lighting, which would cause harm to the appearance or significance of the grade of the two-listed building, and fail to preserve or enhance the character or appearance of Oakham.
It's not in keeping at all with that.
So,
I made a site visit during one evening, several evenings, and in fact the external lights have never been switched on.
No.
And the ambience of this public house shows through without any external lights whatsoever. And in fact, the proof of the pudding is that the pub was full, whereas round the corner at the Merry Monk there's only one person in there. So it doesn't actually need all that external lighting.
And it's a very traditional pub on the inside
Of course,
as
it's the
well.
most
It's not,
photogenic place in town.
evidently not. It's not, you know, things like the Wetherspoons is much more modern. It needs that, you know, the lighting is in keeping with it. Whereas considering this, and it obviously that's right in the middle of the, it's not a residential area, it's right in the middle of town. Whereas this is, it's on a residential street. It's highly visible.
I think we've got to preserve.
And the
I
house
think
opposite it.
personally, I think it's our job to preserve buildings like that listed in Oakham and look after them and make sure that
And
they
people like it.
maintain their standard
Yeah.
as it is.
People like it because it's a
Yes.
traditional pub. It's not
Mm.
one of these chains that they're all the same.
And everybody appreciates the flowers on the
Yeah,
outside.
well, they're beautiful, aren't they? They really do have a lovely display.
So having said all that, I propose the
On the grandstand. On what grandstand?
what we've been literally what we've been saying that it's not in, it's not
Residential on the
in
grounds of preservation and conservation of the area.
And concur with the conservation officer's comments?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that takes care of the second one.
So
Sorry.
proposal was Stan, who's the second? The second, John. Vote please. And that's unanimous.
So that's basically the second one, it's exactly the same, so can I say the same proposal, second,
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Second by John. Okay,
Do we need to vote again?
no, we're just taking,
We're taking it as one. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this meeting comes to an end at 10:22